Hello, hello, hello. I don't know if I should say good morning.
Well, it's afternoon now.
Well, it is good afternoon. Good afternoon, Sussex Squad Nation, Sussex Squad World. Well, Tuesday happened.
Did indeed. It did indeed.
How are you guys doing, Charles and George?
Well, very much the same as it relates to not having any sleep. But I will say I'm grateful that you brought some eggnog right now to make it's to start off this service right now.
That's right.
But yeah, there's Tuesday happened. There's a lot that comes from that. Was Charles mentioned during the last service? Elections have consequences, and I know we'll talk about that in a bit. But part of the I know what you put as the headline for today's service is that the work continues, and that is the overriding theme.
It actually took me a very long time to get to that, really. It was a very difficult time Tuesday night. And I was actually, checking Royal Sussex during, and many other network and continue making really calls. And he was holding it down. He was just trying to calm people and said, not all the votes are, and, like looking at the stats. And he was encouraging people because, some people in the chat was sort of freaking out, but he was doing such an amazing job holding us together. And although, we didn't, the outcome ended up not being what we always suspected to be. But he was really doing a phenomenal job. Congratulations on that, Baron. It was difficult for me. I went into a depression, really. Um, and I had to quickly come out of it because I have my mother to care for. And I need all the energy and I don't even know the words that I need to say. It just was very, very difficult because I was so looking forward to share that moment with her and truly thought that, we had it in the bag, to be honest, because I feel like that as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, for the short time that, she ran, um, the they did an incredible job, cover a lot of states and spend tons of money, and she was very clear and precise on her mission, what she wanted to do. And so I feel like there is absolutely no way this woman is not going to win. Absolutely no way. I was so sure of that. Boy, I was wrong, obviously, because the American people said something very different. And the incredible work that the black communities have done, specifically women and even the men as well, because at some point we thought that, we were losing some of our black men, but they come through. But where really we lost it was really with white women and white male, of course, and Spanish male, which was surprising for me to hear. It was very, very, very surprising. I mean, it's quite interesting now to see that, the conversation now it's moving to a place where everybody's blaming everybody, what didn't happen, what should have happened, and, blaming the Democrat, blaming this, blaming that. We are blaming each other. And it was like, look, at the end of the day, regardless how you feel about either party, it was very clear what this woman wanted to do. And I don't know if there was anything else that we could have done. I don't know if there's anything else that truly, really we could have done because I think sometimes when it comes to these things, especially, I feel like people make their mind very early on, regardless what's out there, what says. People make their mind up. And sometimes a lot of it has to do with the misinformation that's out there. sort of, if you think about it, what all of us have been talking about for about maybe months, if it has not been almost through the whole um, Uncle Joe, I call him Uncle Joe, sort of administration, although that's not in yet until January. It's that it feels at time there's a race war going on. And so, yes, maybe perhaps we take for granted what we probably should have done better when it comes to that, to let people know we're not the enemy. But I think for many people have that in their mind, those that, who voted, that, sort of it was us against them. And so I was very, very, very depressed. And I wake up the next day and it was quite cloudy here. And I didn't know what to say. I mean, you guys know, I don't spend a day or night that I don't watch World Sussex. I was almost embarrassed, ashamed, or I almost feel like it's my fault for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's that, what, how do you, like, I just didn't want to hear his voice. If it was sad, I didn't want to see, the squads in there if they were just not feeling too good and not knowing that what I can say will be a part of that. I just went and hide away. I truly am. And then, of course, what probably many of us do sometimes, those of us that were Christian and who, sort of have our faith in the great Lord, I started having a fight with God. How could you let this happen? Why did this happen? God, did I not pray the night before and do a whole service on that? Did you not hear the prayer? How could you do that to us? And I feel this ensign voice that coming to me that said, what an hypocrite you are. What an hypocrite that you are. You asking me, how did I let this happen? Have you not looked around you? Have you not seen what I have done? And what about you? What did you do? Oh, yeah, that's right. You just did the best you could in terms when it comes to, the election. Did you do everything you can? Or is there's other things that I want you to focus on that you have not been focused on? Is there things that I want you to do that you choose not to do? I've opened doors for you. I've given you opportunities that you walk away from. And now you telling me, why did I do this? Why you're asking those questions? You are a hypocrite. Have you not seen how we got here in the first place? How could you forget? You've been studying how you know history. Every generation have to come to terms of some type of disappointment. But they don't let the ball down. They continue moving forward. They continue with the work. You didn't get here because somehow you did something special. How many of those people that had worked so hard walk barefooted, getting ripped, working 24/7, for you to be here? You don't think that they too had disappointment? You don't think that, what, they had to, sort of sometime even escape and sort of getting killed and hung and so many things that have happened to them? And here you are living what was promised to you, and you think you did everything you could possibly have done. I hear that voice very, very clear, and realizing it is the truth. At that moment, yes, we wanted her to win. But I miss the fact that, you know what, I got to see not just me and my mother, the first black woman, biracial woman nominated. I discounted that. The second woman to have a nomination. The first woman to elected president in Mexico. And if you go around the world, how many others and women are doing incredible things, spite of our differences, spite of how we think of each other. The fact that we able to even have a voice now, somewhat, is the testament of those who come before us. The reason why you have a mic, you talking, it's about a woman that who occupy a space most people would have thought that she would have never occupied, which is Meghan Markle. Did you forget that too? Did you forget Tina and Michelle? Two women started a movement. And here we are now. That movement, it's helping so many others. The charities that would depend on us. It's not just for Harry and Meghan. Yes, that's where it started. But look at everything we have been able to do for those charities. And they depend on us. And that's included our servicemen and women that every single day was giving their life for us. They're giving their life for us. And we are now having opportunity when they come back home, if they're lucky enough to come back home, to tell them thank you. Not just thank you and then we move on, but being able to be a part of their journey as they're recovering. And this is what the mission is. This is what the work is. This is what I put you to do. And you need to find a way to do it. Yes, you have to be Tarzan. You're not the most, probably popular. And some people do have issues or problems. The fact that, you have church in front of your name or, whatever. You don't barely can speak. But there is 3,000 people that is love you, listen to you, supporting you. And that's what I want you to have. And I don't want you to forget that. So you need to find a way to come back. And my next question was, okay, all right, I get it. I'm listening. And this is really true, guys, what I'm saying to you guys. As I'm reflecting in deep meditation and hearing these voices in my head. Okay, well, I'm a silly goose. I'm a silly girl. I'm just silly. I like to laugh. I like to sort of, giggle and, sort of whatever. That's my spirit. This is how I function. But I feel like I had lost, for that quick moment, lost my laughter. And I didn't know how to come back in and sort of, being able to not just only talk to people, how do you talk to them, but even being able to laugh with them. How do you do that? For one, I was not watching, as I said, my favorite person in the world, Royal Sussex, and as many others as well. And I don't know what happened. I had this feeling, asking myself, can I laugh? Can I, like I was struggling to even turning him on. And I remember, quickly, for those of you that's probably fan of Sex in the City, when Carrie, I think, did not get the wedding she was expecting, and Mr. Big, sort of, I guess, get cold shoulder, whatever, and then she went to, I believe it was Mexico or one of those places. She went with all her friends and stuff like that. She was sad. She closed the curtain. I feel like that's what almost like I was reliving. Did not want to talk to anybody, and and what she was concerned about, whether or not she would be able to smile or laugh again, if things would be funny to her. And then I don't know which one of the girls says that you will know, you'll laugh in something again. And then I think one of the girls end up having the wrong bathroom, and then that make her giggle and she find her laughter. And I find myself, the same things in some ways happen to me. I got the courage to actually listen to Royal Sussex again. And sir, I hope you are listening. And if you're not listening, I hope one day you understand how much you mean to this community. And specifically me, I'm going to try to go through it without crying. You meant to me. For someone you don't know. For someone that we have never even speak on the phone, so to speak. So where you could say, oh, okay, I know she's crazy. I call you my brother. I feel so deeply connected to you in so many ways. Whether the way you think, the way you talk, the way you see things, and sometimes that I'm thinking something and you're thinking exactly the same thing. But most of all, the courage that you have as a man to actually really standing up for us women, for this community, how you united us, how you play a lead that many of us needed, that we didn't know that we needed. That we didn't know that we need a place to go every day just to escape, at least for a short while time. That so many of us didn't think that, whatever name we call ourselves online, somehow we know each other. And what you have done for me specifically, listening to you is as though that Tuesday didn't happen when I finally turned you on. The community was back. They were focused on what we need to focus on. Not that we're not thinking about what happened on Tuesday, but we are focused on the mission and understand that, it's bigger than Harry and Meghan. It's not just about the two of them. It's much more than that. It's the little soldiers that Harry is supporting. It's the women, the abused women. It's the Center Valley. It's all this organization we have come to love and support. And support with whatever little money that some of us have or don't have. We try to contributing. We even contributing to many of the content creators. And it's not because you guys have it like that. But you guys understand what Black women, what people truly understand is that, the work must continue. We must stand out for those who cannot stand up for themselves. As Harry and Meghan recognize that they could have been just lay low and just enjoy their kids, enjoy their wealth and stuff like that, but they understand first how they get there. Because to be honest and truthful, the Sussex squad play a huge part of them getting where they are and be successful and succeed at it. And we have played a huge part of these charities, highlighting them, talking about them. We are doing the God's work. Whatever, how you call it, doesn't matter who you serve. But we are doing an incredible work which we were meant to do. And we must continue. So, how did I find my laughter? How I was able to laugh again? Well, I'm going to play this clip for you guys right now from Baron from Royal Sussex. And that's how I find my laughter.
But as he would say,
we've had William all over the TV talking about ending homelessness, or let's all work together to defeat homelessness.
but as he would say,
we've had William all over the TV talking about ending homelessness, or let's all work together to defeat homelessness. TV talking about ending homelessness, or let's all work together to defeat homelessness. This week,
oh my God, I love it. You know, this is my new favorite thing, right? This is my new favorite thing.
All over the TV talking about ending homelessness, or let's all work together to defeat homelessness. This week, we find out.
Woo! Oh boy, I tell you. Please don't make me wet my pants. That was too cute. Oh, let's all work together to end homelessness. Oh Lord, I can't handle it. I just can't. I cannot handle it. That is just too much. And the fact that he has a straight face, I wouldn't have been able to get through without
We had
laughing.
William all over the TV talking about ending homelessness, or let's all work together to defeat homelessness. This week, we find out
Okay, I got that out my system.
And guys, I swear I would listen that over and over and over again. When I first tuned him in, I didn't even know what he was talking about or laughing about. I started find myself laughing with him. And here I am, go straight from just sad and depressed, so to speak, and God just tell me I am a hypocrite and the whole 9 yard. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to tune him in maybe and see what's going on. And here he was laughing about something, and I'm laughing right along with him without even knowing what. There we go again. And for whatever the reason, at that moment, I feel like, yes, things are not okay. There's hard days are ahead, but somehow it's always going to be okay. And I was just listening to what everybody say, what was going on. People was truly focused on the work, what we are all here to do. And so, sir, Baron, thank you for that. You have absolutely no idea, maybe you do, how precious you are to this community and specifically for me. I hope you know that. So thank you. Okay, Charles. That was a long.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that, Lady Sussex. It's you always need a good pep talk sometimes. So, definitely appreciate that. And it has been a difficult week for certain, but it does not mean that things have slowed down at all. As a matter of fact, I'm sure things will have to pick up. And indicative of that, actually, and we've even seen some comments about that actually from you guys online already in the chat, is what the lovely team, Harry and Megan, have been doing. So the first off is at the very beginning of the week is about the announcement regarding the Invictus Games.
Is that a Church and Alley report you're reading?
This is the Church and Alley report.
Okay. Church and Alley report. Okay, so let's get into Church and Alley report. I thought you were speaking to the folks in the chat right now.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, this is Church and Alley.
Okay, so hope Church and Alley, you're doing well. You're doing good. So
She's in the chat just like always.
oh, wonderful.
Having a good old time.
Wonderful. I think very soon we'll have another video for Church and Alley. So come on, let's go.
So just speaking about the Invictus Games, and they've actually announced some new members. So with those keeping up, as you may be aware, they actually announced the addition of, is actually a little, the wording is interesting because they've actually delineated between two different kind of groups. So there are two new members they've indicated as Lithuania as well as Brazil. But they've also added another new team, which is called the Afghan Unconquered. So the reason why they've actually separated like Lithuania and Brazil away from the Afghan Unconquered, I'm not quite sure why they're two distinct things and only listing the two, Lithuania and Brazil, as being two new members. But anyway, that's how they report it. That's how it's listed on Archwell. Mm-hmm. But it is important to know, actually, that as we start going through what Invictus Games are really all about, and I think it actually really exemplifies what their overall mission is, because I think a lot of people can very easily think, okay, well, it's just kind of for the Commonwealth. That's really what this is all really about, and that's kind of, and while that is true, that's where they started. That's not what their ambition is, and they've been growing it very steadily. Even earlier this year when they started to invite, I believe it was Kenya who actually jumped on as well. But now with these other two members as well, is actually
I don't think it was Kenya. That was
Nigeria, maybe?
Yes,
Nigeria. So what they're basically talking about is the Invictus Games are really committed to recovery and rehabilitation of all wounded, injured, and sick service personnel and veterans, regardless of nationality. And I think that's just such a wonderful cause and goal to kind of break down those national silos and barriers and just realize that, we are all people at the end of the day. Yeah. At the end of the day, we are humans. We are of the same people. And we should actually realize and form a greater, stronger community, and we have to do that together. And I think this is really just such an awe-inspiring work, whereas they compete, but they do it in a way that brings hope and they uplift one another. And it's not in a way that's seen as us against them, but how they're stronger together through sport, which I think is just a wonderful thing. It's a much more powerful thing that I think people really give it credit for. But it's amazing. So just, all kinds of credit to him for having started that and doing such a wonderful job managing and leading that organization. As you guys may know and be aware, but tomorrow is actually Veterans Day Here,
Isn't it today?
it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow.
Officially, it
here.
is tomorrow in the States. It's Monday. But I believe it actually may be earlier in other parts of the world. And there, what they actually call that is Remembrance Day, is actually how they refer to that. And in light of that, actually, Prince Harry actually is the global ambassador of Scotty's Little Soldiers. And he actually posted a very, very touching letter ahead of National Remembrance Day. And we won't read the entire letter. You guys should definitely do that. It's in the video. You guys go check it out. And definitely go to Little Scotty Shoulders to just go read it. Soldiers. To go read that. But in the letter, he mentioned how he can empathize with those who have actually lost a parent at a young age, and how we need to honor their sacrifice and keep it in mind how overwhelming and isolating it is for children who have actually lost their parents in combat. Yeah. He speaks about how we need to support each other and build community and honor our loved ones and forge new bonds because of that kind of isolation, because it's important actually, especially for those children, about having that sense of community, especially when they are in these very tough times, and how that community can carry them through those tough times. He also reaffirms his own support and willingness to actually uplift their community, and also remember the values of their parents and the courage, compassion, and sense of purpose that they've shown through their sacrifice, and to make sure that they maintain that through their lives. So I think that's, again, just another example how, both of them really, but specifically Harry here, is just such a light and beacon of positivity, hope, and then just also virtue, really, I think is kind of the best thing to say about it. Because really, I mean, in what we've seen, and kind of, I think, the mood that we have been in, actually, through the early part of this week, I think seeing the benefits and what they've been able to bring is even more important. And on that last and on that note, actually, is also the UN address that they actually had. It was actually a video address that they did. And it was at actually the inaugural UN Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children.
Yeah. Again, this is exactly my point. How crucial and important the work that they are doing, and how much they depend on us. I mean, you can, like, if you were to ask me right now what any of other royal charities, I would not know any one of them. And we certainly, I don't know how long has it been since we've been making so much noise, and we have charities come and actually thank us and thank the movement and what we are doing, because they see how crucial our helps. I mean, if you think about it, it's not like it's the media or the royal rulers that is reporting on these things. We are. Almost every day. We are the outlet that they needed, and understand that we get it, and we appreciate the work that they are doing. And so I just don't want to ever lose sight of that. And hopefully our co-host, who is right now in the chat, never lose sight of that as well.
That's right. And likewise, I mean, just another thing that they've done to uplift, as we mentioned, regarding kind of the UN thing. So this is actually as reported on Archwell as well. But this week, members of Archwell Foundation Parents Network attended an inaugural UN Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children in Bogota, Colombia.
Yeah, they didn't actually attend, but they did.
Let me finish. So it was attended. They attended virtually through
That's
video.
Right. Correct.
But I'm reading the press release.
Right.
So this landmark event actually marked the first time that governments and leaders from around the world come together to commit to accelerating Sustainable Development Goal 16.2, ending all forms of violence against children. The conference addresses the urgent solutions and actions needed to create a world where children are safe and protected in their homes, schools, communities, and online spaces. So in a video message, Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, applauded the efforts of those actively addressing the critical issue and stressed the importance of tackling digital violence specifically to prioritize children's safety in today's connected world. And protecting children, both offline as well as online, requires continued collaboration, innovation, and a commitment from governments, organizations, and communities worldwide. The work must not only persist, but accelerate to ensure every child grows up in a safe and supportive environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, it's the work. It's what they're doing. It's what we, in some ways, been put to do. It's to recognize that. And so, it is really, really, really important, and we should not lose sight of it.
I think this kind of update and work stream specifically is one that is worth extra attention from across the squad and really everyone generally. Because it captures a couple really important ideas. And I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more, Lady Sussex, in just a moment, but some of the questions and the thoughts and what everyone is asking right now is, okay, what comes next after this past Tuesday with a change in administration? What does that mean? There's so many different work streams that are happening, especially for some of the work that Charles and I do when it comes to work in new technologies, work that's in sustainability, things of that nature. And I think the emphasis that Harry and Meghan put on this contribution and this work stream in particular is really important, because one of the things that they're doing in addition to supporting youth and protecting them and creating safe environments for them is that additional distinction of the physical kind of real world, what happens when we're together with each other physically, versus what is actually happening in an increasingly digitized and connected world. And the fact of the matter is technology is going to continue evolving. Right. It is going to continue coming at us. It is a critically important area to focus on and to learn more about how do we even think about it, how do we engage with it, because it's not something that's going to stop or start with one administration or another. It is something that is going to continue regardless. And so it's just a critical area in terms of that focus and making sure that it is not something that is lost in the noise, but really something that stands out as a separate thing that warrants its own attention.
That's right.
Well, and I think just in addition to what you mentioned, George, is also like legislative as well. Like, how do you even regulate these spaces and understand and like build law around it? Because it's still brand new and people are still trying to figure it out, for sure. So with all that said, and expounding and extolling the virtues and benefits of what H&M have been doing and continue to do, you also kind of have to go back with what's the royal family doing. Okay, well, this is such a fantastic thing when Harry and Meghan, and they have been such a beacon of hope, really. But okay, well, what's the rest of the family got going on? And of course, I'm not going to dwell on it. It's just worth a quick mention. But good old Willie was over in South Africa and at another protest that was caused by him. So they were just there, and there are people telling them that he has no sovereignty in their country, and it just seems like we heard that same sentiment somewhere else very, very recently with another portion of his family. So
what was really incredible from what I understand, listening to, I don't know who I was listening, it's appeared to be that, some of the media was blaming the election, almost like, how dare us to be having an election. I think I was listening to, oh my God, they're coming on Saturdays or something like that. Well, you see where my head is at. But anyway, they, one of them was talking about the fact that, there was, the media was talking about, almost I dare us to be having an election, which we've been having, God, for how long? Since the election started, first Tuesday of November. Because of he was in Africa doing his thing. And I'm like, I think it's the other way around. I think that you know what they decided to send him there, knowingly most of the focus is going to be on the elections, and so anything bad that happened there, we wouldn't be paying too much attention to it. I think it was the earlier, but the nerves that they will actually print that, from what I understand.
That's pretty crazy.
And I hope that was not true. I hope that, sort of, I get it wrong
Yeah.
because it was crazy.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's pretty intense.
But they are going to do what they're going to do. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. I think that, right now, all around, the world, sort of people are feeling this election. And when you looked at what's happening in Spain as well, with King Felipe, sort of there's so much that's happening in these spaces. And I think people need to start having an understanding that, you know what, we need to start listening to each other a little bit more, or those who are in leadership position need to start listening to the people. Because although I will say King Felipe did a great job sort of in terms of staying around, a lot of being people's, throwing rocks and, sort of mud at him. I mean, they say it wasn't particularly him. It must have been the other guy, Prime Minister,
yeah.
and everything, which who left, But that was a good thing that he did by staying. And I think that, he's going to be rewarded from the people for doing so. So that's probably something that, the royals in England should learn a little bit about, because right now, especially the last report that, we just have, which nobody's talking about, what's been going on with Charles and his son over there. I mean, and we were not even talking about that woman. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the point, right? I mean, the point is that I don't think they don't know. I just don't think they would want to. I mean, clearly his son, Harry, does a fantastic job. Like, there's a blueprint laid out about how you actually do that. I just don't think they have any interest.
But why they keep copying what he's doing?
But they do. But it's so superficial. They can't. They try, but they don't want to actually invest the effort. So they're not copying him. They're not, because to copy him means to actually do the work. But they want to appear to be copying him is what they're trying to do. And the one thing that actually they are not copying is the fact that Harry pays his taxes. They do not copy that, because talking about that is going back to the fallout is still continuing on the Duchy Papers, which is that special investigation that actually happened on Channel 4 and the Sunday Times.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still that all over the press, and it's still going out.
That's right.
So,
it was shocking. And the fact that, as I said again, I think before, is that the election was going to take a lot of eyes on it. But I have a feeling that it's going to come back.
Oh, well, I think it's still going. I think it's
gonna
just
come back.
picking up, because, I mean, people are really upset when they're already giving 132 million pounds annually to the sovereign grant. And on top of that, what they have is going on with what's going on in the duchy. And also, like, everything that entails, in the fact they don't pay any taxes on it.
It is crazy.
So people are quite upset. And then there was just kind of going back in terms of how they're trying to act like Harry, but not actually doing the work. Is Claire Kane actually had a fantastic clip about from Heidi Klum.
Oh, right. That's right. That she
And
was
William
invited.
invited her to this big kind of shindig and award ceremony, and she didn't even know what she was showing up for.
That was really sad.
Yeah, they asked her, is like, okay. She's like, no, actually, I was just told to be here because my press guy talked to his
She
press
said
guy.
Until that
Yeah.
time, she didn't know what it was, and it almost feel like even though she was there, she still didn't know. But that was a little bit really embarrassing. It's almost like I feel almost like the fact that she actually said, I would have thought that she probably would have played it off, but she did not play it off. She just went right out and said, hey, they called my people and they said, we would like you to come and to something that we didn't previous come and support. Like, I don't know, but I didn't expect her to actually tell it like it
Yeah,
was,
like
because it really makes them look really, 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 really bad.
well, it's what they say, right? It's all pomp and circumstance with no substance behind it.
Oh, my goodness. I hope they find their way before it's too late. That's all I'll say. Let's move on.
Yep. Well, that is Church Nelly. That's the end of
Uh-huh.
the report. That is all the news that is fit to
So,
print.
what's going
this
on
week.
with Connie Bomber?
Well,
which I
Connie
now-
Bomber actually just popped into the chat. So hello,
Hi,
Connie.
Connie.
Good to have you here. And for Connie Bomber, the first thing is, we always do with the community update is just take care of the community.
That's right.
So first and foremost, we know that everybody's pretty upset. And so we thought it'd be a good time to just have the serenity prayer.
Correct.
So, God, grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
That's right.
And I think we all need to internalize that.
That's right.
But that also doesn't mean, and I think the crucial part of that statement in prayer is the wisdom to know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean the things that you can't do today, and you should avoid the things that you can't do today. The thing is, okay, understand what actually you can do and do that. So even though it may be more than what you're doing right now, but just realize the scope of impact that you have. And frankly, we have quite a bit. So just being able to realize that and then understand, okay, well, look, what are the things that actually can move and that we can do, and then what we can do together as a community, and then realize there are things happening in the background that we can't do, we can't change, and then just keep your eye on the prize.
I actually think it's more than that. I think that, every horrible situation in our lives have rise opportunities that we didn't see coming. It's almost like after darkness come light, the sun will shine again. And I know it feels scary right now, and it's going to continue to feel scary. And so many people are going to not be happy. We're going to probably see things that, we come to expect or thinking that, we will see, and that's not going to make us happy. But I also think there will be doors that will be open. There will be opportunities for us to recognize these opportunities, not be so mad enough. And so in a place of despair, and we don't take these opportunities. I truly feel like, and also,
Well, just while you think of that, the just that idea, it's actually, we have to go back to our English friend himself, Winston Churchill, and his quote of "Never let a good crisis go to waste."
That's right, and it is true. Never let a good crisis go
To waste.
Because I will say it's probably the same situation where I find myself, maybe many of you find yourself, where we truly think that, she got it in the bag. And now he become our president, whether we like it or not, this man. And based on what's been reported, when you think of Project 25, that seems 2025 seems to be extremely, really scary. And we have no reason not to believe what's in those reports actually going to happen. But we still truly don't know what's going to happen. Miracle happen. Things happen. And I hope we hold on to this hope. And I hope we hold on to the spirit of our ancestors. That and many of them, if not all of them, have had it harder than we can ever possibly have.
Well, I think that is absolutely true. And I think a really important thing that we can learn from what Harry and Meghan has done is how important community is to everyone. That you don't have to feel that you're in it by yourself, but that all of us are together, and that being together, we can be stronger.
Absolutely.
And that we can uplift and support each other, which is going to be so critical because, everyone comes at their own pace and everyone comes with their own feelings involved and their own needs and sets of circumstances. And I think having a place where you can feel safe and having a place where you feel that you belong and are comforted
That's right.
is super important. And I think everyone here does such a great job at that.
Absolutely. And again, this is what I say. I don't know if our community truly, fully, hopefully think what an incredible thing that they are doing. Specifically when you think of parent that was day in, day out, night or days, sick or not, feeling well or not, he show up. And we all, for many of us, his 60,000 and plus people have a place to go, have some, sort of a distraction, or maybe laugh like I laughed that day and didn't even realizing that, I was going to laugh because I didn't feel like I can laugh. How important it is. Communities that I find that I didn't even know that I was going to find and was going to give me so much. So yes, we do need each other. But I also think of the walk of Sama. Those people as they were
Yeah, Selma. Mhm.
Selma, yeah. As they were walking, and many of them, I'm sure, was very aware what was awaiting of them. Between the water, the dogs, the bathroom, getting beat. Who knows what else that was not reporting on that day. And they hold hand together. And they say, we're going to march. And the difference that make for all of us today. And I want us to remind ourselves as we go into 2025, where yes, it looks scary. Yes, we know what we're going to find. Or may find, based on what's reported. But we're going to continue. We're going to continue hard. They're going to spray us. They're going to kill us on the street. They're going to deport us. But we're not going to stop. Because it is important that, we move forward. And we pave the way for the next generation to come. So let's remember the walk of Sama and every other things that have happened that lead us to today. And how scary I'm sure it was for many of people that come before us. And right now, at least we have an opportunity. We have voice we didn't have. We have more communities how to connect with each other. We have ways of movement around the world. And we will be okay.
That's right.
We will be okay.
I have two quotes to add to that idea, and they're offered as just that, as quotes for consideration. Not that they are necessarily indicative of everything or how everyone's feeling, and how, especially with people coming from different perspectives and in different walks of life. But they may be helpful, maybe not, but maybe.
I love quotes.
So the first one is actually been attributed to a couple different speakers, one Morgan Housel, another Scott Galloway, is that nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems.
That's right.
And the other is actually a pretty famous one. It's something that Charlie Chaplin once said, and that is that life is a tragedy when seen close up, but comedy in the long shot.
That's right. Because truly, it's me being hopeful and being optimistic. Like, he may surprise us. He may surprise us. Now that he got a second term, maybe perhaps his legacy of his children may mean something to him and surprised everyone that he went the other way, because I'm sure his first term was surprising to many people and went places that we didn't think that he can go. Maybe the same thing will happen upside on reverse now this time, that maybe perhaps what everyone think that he's going to do, maybe he will do something completely that even shock us even more. So I'm going to keep the hope, because like our princess Megan says, our faith need to be bigger than our fear. Our faith need to be bigger than our fear. So we press on, we move on. I think it's Black Queen that says, could you repeat what Black Queen say online as she come?
Yes, and we hope the watering and the pruning of the garden outside is going well, Black Queen. And wonderful to see you in the comment. And Black Queen, for everyone else, she added that she'll be watering and take care of her plants. So she'll join when she can. When we fight, we win. Never give up, never surrender.
That's right, because we are all seeds. You can burn the forest, but we'll rise again.
Okay.
So
the last little bit for Connie Balmer, well, not really the last bit, but just the other thing that just to kind of quickly mention, in support of everything we have been doing and kind of more of the normal thing that we do during this particular segment, is also the prayers, for the specific prayers that we do for our Sussex Squatty.
But before we go to our prayers, I need to speak with you guys, because I think this is where it is very important for the community to be aware of, especially when it comes to climate space, because this is the work you guys do. You guys are leading in that space. You guys are the new leaders that to hopefully take us to the new world of technology, or how we understand it. How does that work for us, our communities, especially the underserved communities? What should we look forward to? What Harry is doing in that space when it comes to, sort of sustainability and things like that? So giving what we think, obviously we don't know, would happen. So where are we with that? What should we expecting?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's something that's been posed to Charles and I quite a bit since last Tuesday, especially. Even before that, people wanting to know, how do we prepare for kind of what comes next? And we'll put this up on the screen just for everyone who's not maybe aware of it yet, but it's something we want to share, that there is a lot that is coming of that work that we're doing that is focused on the climate space, on new technologies, on sustainability, the initiative we launched called Planet First Action. We have the YouTube channel, Instagram handle, as well as on Twitter. They're on the screen. It's at Planet First Action.
Please, really, truly follow them, especially now more than ever with what's happening with the election going on to 2025. Please do follow them on IG, and as well, please go into their channel and subscribe, because it's very, very important.
Yes, and we're gonna actually in that initiative. There's gonna be a lot of content specifically around that, about what comes next, what does the future hold as we go into 2025. And one of the important things to call out is that there's for those who've been following the history of movements focusing in on the climate area specifically, there is a history of different ways of kind of come at this problem from the government perspective, from the private sector, from laws, from regulations, all across the world. Different initiatives have kind of risen and tried to move the ball forward. And where we've landed right now, and actually something that's been spurred forward in the U.S. over the last 2-3 years in particular, is climate action and investment to address sustainability and decarbonization in a way that is government catalyzed, but really private sector led, which means that there has been legislation and laws that have been passed over the past 2 years, the Inflation Reduction Act in particular. We talked quite a bit about that on the Planet First Action show, and the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund that is a part of it.
And here too, you guys did talk about it here as well.
Exactly, we mentioned it here, and it put a ton of investment, both direct investment through about $27 billion through the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, as well as a whole bunch of tax credits for businesses that were beginning to invest in those projects focused on the energy transition. And it has really driven the private sector forward. They have actually really started to invest billions and billions of dollars into this work. Just as some stats, even just focusing on the U.S. alone, since that law was passed, there's been over 330,000 new clean energy jobs that were created here in the U.S. There's more than 183 new battery manufacturing plants alone. That's part of more than 650 new clean energy projects across the states. That's across 47 states and Puerto Rico, just that are tied to that legislation. And so the point there is that, yes, there was something that was started by that legislation, but now it has really been launched by the private sector who's seen the economic benefit, and they're driving it forward regardless. So while there may be changes there's certainly a change in the administration, and there's going to be certainly changes in the way things are talked about, but those fundamentals that are driving it forward right now from the private sector, from it just making sense economically, not to mention its ties to national security and other things like that, those things are going to continue happening.
And I think it's not just in the blue states. It's also happening, in the red state, in many of those places where that voted for, President-elect Trump.
That's exactly right.
So
And there's actually a great report. If you all that are listening are not familiar with it, we'll put it probably in the community page just so you can see it. But it's by a group called Climate Power that have been tracking the investment that came from the Inflation Reduction Act. It's why actually Charles and I were down on Capitol Hill advocating for that bill, so the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund portion could get across the finish line. But as Lady Sussex mentioned, there's a ton of the investment, ton of the benefit have gone to states that are what are described as being red or Republican, states that did vote for the new administration. And so that is it's an important thing to call out, because it again goes to not being a partisan thing when it comes to the energy transition.
It should not be.
And it shouldn't be. And we actually had a guest on our show who's just absolutely incredible by the name of Claire. We interviewed her, and she actually highlighted that idea that the energy transition specifically is actually about what brings us together. It's about economic security. It's about jobs. It's about being able to afford the things that you need, your health, all of those things that people care about regardless of party affiliation. And so that is, again, not there's a part of this is about sharing it just because of that it is important to have hope for some people who right now maybe not feeling hopeful. But it also is the simple truth. It is the plain truth that the economics of this energy transition and its other priorities in terms of national defense and other elements are going to continue driving it forward.
And it's incredible, because I was doing a lot of reading on that as well myself. And then I even see even now some of the Republican already having that discussion and sort of having that whatever disagreement in between them because of that understanding that, how much work, job creation that's already in place. And so I think they're going to think a lot about that as they're moving forward. So I see, and I think it's a project. I think it will continue because of the investment that is happening that's really good for the country. And,
It is.
Well, I think there's one thing really important and critical to let everyone be aware of is absolutely all these things are like on the ground facts. Like these are true. These are happening. Have huge economic benefits to everybody, and this makes America a stronger, better place. So, and it helps at a local level that people actually feel these things and feel these impacts. That will definitely shape their opinion. But what we need to also remind people is that rhetoric is still there.
Rhetoric is going to be there,
and so as that rhetoric is basically being bandied about, look at what they do,
not
and
what
they say can be something else. So we just have to make sure we understand what that is, and then keep track of what's actually happening on the ground, and then keep our eye on the prize.
And this is why, guys, I hope and pray you guys do go to their channel, Planet First Action, and you do support them. Give them that support, because it is important for us to have at least people that, we either trust or will listen or would sort of can actually explain to us things that we really don't understand. Of course, it's always good for you guys to do your own research as well too. Don't just take everything we say and just run with it, but do your research. But it will be great that, to have leaders, young leaders like Charles and George, that who are entering this space, understand what the mission is to make sure as things are moving forward that the sort of underserved communities does have a voice. And so it's really not about money for them in this at all, because enter this space, there's really no money, at least not yet. It just, the mission is just the work. It just sort of giving yourself, to the work and trust the process. And I think it's similar to us here, defending and protecting. And there's not for many of us much reward at all. Like for me, sort of like, I cannot even monetize, the shows that I do, but I understand what the mission is, why I have to do what I do here. So please, guys, I hope you guys go and support them and show them that you guys care and love them if you have not yet, because it is very important. I believe you guys have 2 amazing things coming out, if not 3. One is for Thanksgiving. That is incredible. And it's about home,
Exactly.
I think,
Yep.
which is very special, and also for Christmas. So do you want to tell us a little bit about it, or no?
Not,
Oh, you don't have to
not,
highlight
not
what
too
it
much,
is.
not too much, but it's actually the Christmas special, just as a sort of teaser, is something that is truly one of the most inspirational stories. And it's actually not from an organization that's working here in the U.S., but actually doing work abroad, actually in Africa. And it's just one of those stories that you look at it and you see, wow, not only is that incredible and it's uplifting, but it also makes me want to go get off the couch and go do work myself. Because if there's there's nothing to stop you. You can
That's
go and
right.
you can make a difference.
That's right. And we have seen that. We have seen that even from Harry with all his privilege. We have seen that with Megan, how hard she worked and could have continued, sort of say, you know what, I'm going to enjoy my fruit of labor, but decided to give her life to the work. And that's what we all inspired by that here. So, so let's move on. And I think we would. Do you have anything else to add on?
There's one last thing to add, just for the Sussex squad in particular, and is what you had mentioned, Lady Sussex, in terms of tying back this whole change as it relates to investment in climate and new technologies and things like that, of the work that Harry and Meghan are already doing, because they have Travelist, which is getting exactly to that heart of how do you actually bring together these large corporations that are actually seeing it be in their economic interest, regardless of anything else, regardless of political wins, anything like that are simply going to continue moving forward because they see that it is better business, if nothing else. And the work that Harry and Meghan are doing are helping to continue to create that environment in which it is better business, and why it is so important to continue to support them in doing that. But it also goes back to what you mentioned of the impact that this has on underserved communities, because a lot of this work is specifically investment in infrastructure. It's not just like, new software companies that don't actually have physical things. This is actual infrastructure in our communities. And a lot of it is about bringing supply chains and reshoring things that are actually, so they're built here in the U.S. when it comes to the U.S. perspective. And that means that there is a direct impact on those communities where those things are being built. It goes to what we talked about so many of the benefits going to actually red states that voted for the new administration. And that is something that is important to call out, just because, as Charles just mentioned, there may be differences between how things are talked about and what's actually done. But when it comes to the Sussex squad in particular, even though there's certainly a lot of down feelings, a lot of sadness, a lot of different emotions as it relates to the new change, the new administration. But it is one of those things to not lose sight of the work, because of the way that it is deployed, the way that it comes to life, can have really meaningful differences in people's lives, and especially in underserved communities. So to the work that Harry and Meghan are doing, continuing to support that, but also just seeing how things actually come to life and being a part of it.
Amen.
Yeah, I think a really important thing is understanding the framing of what's actually happening, and then make sure that regardless of what's said, that it's still framed correctly, that we have an understanding in terms of what the impact's going to be for our communities is going to be really important moving forward.
That's right.
because there's a lot of money that's been earmarked and assigned. And what we need to do is just make sure that money goes to where it's going to matter most and how it was intended to be placed.
Especially with lambda section gonna come, God knows how many things that the Democrats probably gonna try to push out, and so hopefully it will be a lot in that space, and we need to make sure that we get some of it for us. So yeah,
Well, even just keep what's there that's already
absolutely
assigned to us is the
Absolutely.
more important thing.
Absolutely. My hope is just the fact that there's so much is happening in the red, sort of states, and that voted for him, and that it hopefully will be very difficult for them to win, but you never know. So we'll pray. Again, I'm being proven wrong so many times. I am a hypocrite, as God tell me, that recognize that in myself. So who knows?
And just before you take back the reins, Charles, and moving us on to the next item on the agenda, just wanted to call this out because it is beautiful to see. Also, hello to everyone in the community that we haven't had a chance to say hello to yet. It is wonderful to see you all there. But some of these comments have really been amazing. And just wanted to shout out Lavertha August. I think echoed something that Sikai had mentioned earlier. But Lavertha said, coincidence perhaps, this is my first day venturing back to social media as I have been grieving since election results. I needed to hear all of you say to remind me that joy comes in the morning. Love you.
Amen. Amen.
Again, that is the
what is
strength of community.
That's
why
right.
it's so important that, pick your battles, I think is what she's saying. Because you knew that the local news and national news is not a place where you could just venture out. But we love and appreciate the fact that you felt this was your safe space to first kind of go in there. And we're glad that you're here for it. We're here for you.
Amen. And so we're going to move to, the service is going to be a very short service because we're not going to do the words that we will normally do a words in, and we talk about it and stuff like that, whatever the case is. What we're going to do is revisit one of the words that we have done very quickly, because what we have realized is that how important, we didn't know it then when I choose those words we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, how important and crucial they were going to be for us moving forward as we're moving to 2025. I thought we were just focusing past, try to understand why these things are happening to Princess Meghan, and that's where my mind was, and yet here we are about to confront many of these things, and it would be great to be able to look at those words and understand them and keep them in our mind as we see many of our history try to be erased us, and what do we do about it. So what you guys going to see before we getting into that, it's a dedication that we have done sort of for many women in the world, and so we did play that for you guys if you had joined us for prayer night the night before the election. So we're going to play that again. I think it's something that we created a year ago, I think.
More than that, yeah.
Yeah, for something completely very different, and that I felt that we needed to have that. So we're going to play that for you guys again, of course, then have a chance to include, a new elect woman president in Mexico. We cannot forget that. She is not a part of the video, but we will put her on right after the video, so you guys understand that, yes, change, it's happening. Maybe not where we want it to happen, but it's happening other places. And let's not lose sight of that. So come on, let's do it. So, guys, what we're going to do is next week we will continue with our program and looking at words because there is a massive, discussion happening online right now regarding something that was saying. The fact that we don't build anything, maybe perhaps we're not smart enough to build anything of substance from history. So we're gonna debunk that, and next week we actually sort of go into shows. How long and how many years and decades in hundreds and hundreds of years, we have built stuff and continue building stuff thousands of years.
Yeah.
And so we will prove that. We will talk about it because, unfortunately, I would like to think that, what, those are in the past, but I just feel like, this is happening right now too. So this is present. And God knows, again, going to 2025, what we are going to have to deal with. So I think it is really important to know where we come from. For those of us that who probably didn't know so many of these things from research we have done, because a lot of those things have been hidden from us. And so it will be great. But we'll quickly touch on a word that I feel like that not only really appropriate, and we need to revisit it very quickly. It's representation. So if you don't mind, Charles or George, whichever one of you, can you go over some of what we have found when it comes to that word? Do you want to attack that first, Charles?
It's your role. I'll do whatever you like.
Oh, well, can you,
Just let me know.
Can you let us know the meaning of it first?
Okay.
Well, before you get into it, just wanted to say, see you, Church Nelly. Knowing you're going through some hot flashes right now. Well, we hope you feel better soon. Get cold water. Yep.
Oh
Cold
my
water,
God.
cold shower.
Here we go. Oh my God. Oh, you see, this is the laughter that she brought in. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So hope you feel better for sure. And yeah,
Do
cold
you guys
drink.
even know what that means? It's a women thing.
It's a complete woman thing.
It's a Church Nelly thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Whatever whatever I can say as a man that I hope I can empathize with you, I guess, as best as I can.
Oh my goodness.
But I
Oh
do
my
hope that you feel
goodness.
better. So yes, so representation, first used in the 15th century. There's two kind of classical definitions of it with multiple kind of stacks on it. So the first is basically someone or something that represents things like an artistic image, a statement or account that made to influence an opinion or an action, or a dramatic production or a performance, or a formal statement that's made against something or to effect change that is usually happens to be a protest. That is the first little snippet of it. The next is the act or action of representing something, so or the state of being represented. And this is the one that's more applicable to what we're talking about, is that being the action or fact of one person standing for another so as to have the rights and the obligations of that person being represented, or the substitution of an individual or class in place of a person, such as a child for a deceased parent, or the action of representing or the fact of being represented in a group or an aggregation or a body. So if it happens to be a legislative body or something like the Success Squad. Or the participation of people from groups who have historically been excluded, discriminated against, such as race, gender, sexuality, or ability. And then the last is basically the action of presenting or describing a person or thing, especially in a particular way.
That's right. George.
It's a really important word, especially coming out of this past Tuesday. And the election generally, all elections. What does it mean to have representation?
And also to look at the Royals, what is happening right now, and how they are being, the fact that what you said earlier, that they tell them, go home, tell them that you don't represent us. And that tell you everything that you know. But one of the things that what I find that this is why I love Harry and Meghan and how smart and brilliant specifically that woman is. Because a couple weeks, where are they? You know, what are they doing? Why she's not out? They have not been in whatever, you know, together. So they break up, you know, they are breaking up, or the marriage is falling, and whatever, all the nonsense that they're talking about. And that short sort of conversation they were having, and they were talking about the, you know, for Colombia and together, when Megan first started speaking, and she's like, my husband and I. To me, it was that moment, what she said when she says, my husband and I, is to let all the haters know, it's he's still my husband, and I'm gonna call him my husband. And Harry did something so sweet, so special. At the end of the video, he pulled her towards him. And so I'm like, do you guys see this? Can you guys just give up on trying to tell us that how much this couple are not going to be together? They're going to be all the nonsense, you know? And that instant of them having a conversation of something so important, but also did something else, responding to those haters. No, we are strong together, and we are going to continue to be strong together. So go ahead.
That's it. And I think to what you mentioned before is that all of these words from the past few weeks, they were really important in terms of that perspective we were taking, which was looking at history. But as you said, Lady Sussex, they're also very important in the context of today, where we find ourselves today. And I think this word, the way we approached it actually was, again, had a particular sort of nuance to it, but it applies in a different but interesting way in terms of where we find ourselves this Sunday. So there's two sources, and I'll read the one was a short one, and I'll read just a part of the other one when it comes to representation. The first one was from Evelyn J. Hines, The Politics of Representation. And I guess saying this in the context of where do people find themselves, what are we doing today, and what do we look at as we go forward? And this is saying that few relationships would seem more stable than that between the arts and culture. Not only is there an ingrained notion in the Western tradition that there can be no culture without art and vice versa, but also in the form of rituals, monuments, anthems, and mythology, the arts are in effect generally perceived to be the repositories, if not the constituents, of a culture's identity. Cultural revolutions are invariably artistic revolutions, and colonies remain colonies until they produce or reclaim their own indigenous art.
That's right. So talk about it.
And I think that one, the ending point there is just the role of art should not be understated. Its role in our lives, and the fact that art is not just one sort of thing. It's not maybe your mind maybe immediately goes to a painting or drawing or photography or different types of art like that, but it really is all of those different things. It is the different ways in which culture manifests itself in our rituals, in our anthems, in monuments, in many of the ways in which we interact. And those things are repositories of culture, but they are also the fundamental building blocks of the thing that drives representation, you know?
Absolutely. And we can actually really see the effect of that. And we're probably going to continue seeing, but that's also what's going to change things around as well, too.
Exactly. And I think the next source in particular, and I'm going to just try to skip ahead because it was a long one as opposed to reading the whole thing. This was, just to read it for everyone, this was called Knowledge, Power, and the Struggle for Representation by Gregory S.J. And in it, if you go down a little bit from the beginning, he writes that it follows that the current relationship of academic knowledge to political power can be understood in some decisive ways in terms of a struggle for representation. This struggle is multifaceted, plural, and complex. It includes struggles over the theory of representation, as well as over the actual cultural and political distribution of representation. The questions we face might be put in this way: who represents what to whom, for what reasons, through what institutions, to what effect, to whose benefit, at what costs. What are the ethics of representation? What kinds of knowledge and power do authorized forms of representation produce? What kinds of people do such representations produce? Who owns or controls the means of representation? And what new ways of representation might better achieve the goals of justice and democracy in the overlapping worlds of education and politics?
Absolutely. Because as for we may be sort of mad and upset at the people that, who voted for president-elect, but they all in some ways looking for that representation, right? And so for many of them, didn't even have an idea or even the understanding what a tariff is. And so where we find ourselves is now, for many of those people who election night, from what I understand, the most Google things was about, first of all, what that word mean.
No, the most one was actually changing my vote.
Well, because of that, because they
actually
understand.
the
We
biggest one.
also seen people freaking out. We see companies are cutting, already cutting job back for, because the expectation of what to come. So it's a real thing. But if you listen to many of these people, their understanding is that, what, we wasn't the one that was going to pay, so which mean more money for us. And come to find out, no, it's the other way around. And of course, most of this cost going to be passed on to the customers that probably will have a problem, especially when we're already dealing with, high cost stuff. So there is a lot of what some people, many people, people vote for different reasons. So I'm not here to say why someone, but, at least based on what I've been observing and listening, there is people who seeking and searching for that representation and then think a woman can actually represent them for whatever the reason. And so, yeah, I agree with this author.
Yeah, and I think the only other thing I would add for now, just for a thought for the entire community, I guess, as we go forward, is that idea that the world is going to continue moving forward. Technology is going to continue being developed and deployed. The economy is going to continue driving new things. And one of the most integral things that we talk about a lot is that with that transition, there is a dramatic need for new types of training and education for our workforce. For people to be able to even know what's going on with those new technologies.
And this is the opportunities which I talk about. At least there's going to be so many opportunities, doors that are open, even though we are unable to see it, to comprehend it at this moment because we hurt.
Exactly.
So,
and I think the reason why to double down on that idea is that, as this author said, that there is a really direct relationship between education and politics and how those manifest themselves with representation. And each of those questions, they were worth repeating to that end for everyone to have in mind as these projects do move forward, as that new technology comes to life, as there's new workforce programs, as there's all of these things. That idea that these are all intrinsically connected, and they're really important to have a focus on.
Absolutely. And I also think that, as someone that, who try to stay spiritually, and talk to God, and that's come from my mother, who pretty much have devoting all her life to God, really. And I don't know how she did not become a nun, knowing that she grew up in a convent pretty much her whole life. It feels dark, but I truly believe in the light that always comes. And a minute ago, I say, even the forest sometimes burnt out, and you looked at fresh flowers and what that did to the soil, how it enriched the soil, and we grow stronger. And I feel like even though it's that dark, there is opportunities. And what we cannot do, even though right now, like every time I end the show, I say love win and love win always. And it doesn't feel like that moment, that love win. But love does win because we cannot operate in a place of hate. We cannot allow ourselves to go in a place to hate those that we did not vote our way. We cannot even go a place to hate this man that who's elected to be a president. And we're going to have to find ways to push back, work with them, let them know when they're wrong. We're going to shout, we're going to push back. And sometimes it may be with our own body, so to speak. We must move forward. And we have to look at the past and see strength, take strength from it. Think of all the great leaders that have given their lives for us. How many women that have lost their life for us? And I will dare say many white people, our allies, have paid the ultimate price because of the belief of equality. And we cannot lose sight on that. We cannot operate in a place of hate. We have to find the love, because it is my belief, well, we cannot see it, love win. And when things started happening, we all going to look back and see something that I've heard, doing research, because I'm doing so much research, on papers and things that, I need to write and things like that. A very unlikely place. I was actually listening to this, hairdresser, famous hairdresser, become really sort of a great actor, and he is a part of the, LGBTQ actor. And, as they were interviewing him, and one of the things that he say, it was almost like I have that moment when he says that, God sometime move you it take you away from a situation to bless it. God take you away from situations just to bless it. And maybe perhaps that him taking Kamala away from that situation to allow us, all of us, to see where we are, things that, maybe perhaps we have taken for granted, perhaps things that we are unable to see, that look, and now it could start blessing us with so many opportunities that we have not yet able to see or comprehend that going to come.
Yeah. I think what's going to be really important for all of us as we move forward in what may be an uncertain time is to maintain a sense of clarity and focus of what's important, and to make sure that we have an understanding and a responsibility to keep moving that ball forward.
And that's where what you said on the top, how important community is, no matter how small it is. And how important, again, that we are to each other when we come together. Because I don't think that I had it in me to be here with you all this Sunday. Have I not turned on and Barron? One, see that he was talking as if like the election didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, like, looking at what people was talking about, interest and talking about, make me feel better, to his laughter all of a sudden that, I was laughing. I didn't think I had it in me to laugh. And to able to look at and also say, hey, yes, God, I am a hypocrite, because God have created so many opportunities for me that I didn't enter, that I overlook. Blaming on my age. I have time. This is, I'll just stay in study because what I'm told to do, just study and have a great education, and I'll taking care of my mother. And I say no to many. Who knows what I could have done? Who knows? You know what I mean? But God had make waves for me. And here I am, sort of blaming him and questioning him. Why this happened, but focus on what he's actually doing and focus on what I need to do to move forward. Because at the end of the day, God gave his only son for us. We can go back and start it from there. The sacrifice, the disappointment of the people who loved him, who marched with him during that time, paying the ultimate price. But he come back. He come back. And because of him, we are here. And that lesson, it's a lesson we need to continue learning. How could Jesus pay that price? If he is the Son of God, why did not God save him? But he must have gone through what he gone through so we can be renewed and be who we are.
Mm-hmm. And to that, to add from one of our, as always, wonderful co-hosts, this is actually from Sylvia Fielder, who said that we can make it through. Love wins. We will make it with our communities. Watch and pray. Faith without works is dead. I think that last part is something that resonates deeply, just because it goes back to long roots I know for all three of us here. That idea of faith without works is dead. That's right. It's fundamental to it. But to add to that, to what Charles is mentioning, what you've been mentioning, Lady Sussex, is the current context, and this goes actually because I know Mama Jane just asked this question of where do we go from here. There's an important reality of what you've been saying, that there is a new administration and all of that, what that entails. But even underneath this, and I'm certainly not going to go pretend to be a political pundit or even opine on those topics, but one of the things that is real, that is objectively there from the results, is that the vote for the election was deeply divided, and it's very almost as close as you can get to 50-50. So yes, there's a new administration, but the underlying difference of what you're just talking about, the representation of how people are feeling, why they voted the way they did, is that's 50%, nearly 50% of, or more than 50% of the country felt that way. And so the path forward is fundamentally working together. It is finding a way to come together to work through those things, because those changes outside of who's in the administration at any given point in time, those are bigger changes on the world stage and the planet, how the planet is changing, new technologies, all of those things, they're going to require that.
But I also think that, we have a blueprint for this. It could not have been easy for Martin Luther King, for all the greats that comes in, where they had to work with many administration when they could not even walk in front of the door. We do have a blueprint on how to deal with this. To work together hand by hand with our white brothers and white sisters, knowingly that, many of us will pay the ultimate price. So we do have a blueprint to understand that, yes, it may feel dark right now, but the sun will rise. Yes, we may feel the forests have burned down, but guess what's going to happen? New trees, new flowers. What that burn will do to the soil. We have island being, like you saw big erosion happen in the ocean all the time. And come out of that, it's a beautiful island. So is it scary? Absolutely. Especially for those of us, people of color, specifically Black, dark-skinned people. So, it will get better, as it always does. We have a blueprint. I'm sure the person we are now supporting, Harry and Meghan, It must have been scary for them being in that situation, dealing with the powerhouse that they were dealing with. And guess what? They took a chance. They didn't know if it was going to pay it off, how it was going to pay it off, what was going to happen. They know they needed to get out to save each other and to be with each other and to do what they need to do. And guess what happened, guys? Not only here's the Sussex squad, what we have done and standing up for them, but open so many opportunities very fast. I mean, they only been gone, what, for how long now? Look how much they have accomplished in the darkness, in the dark place. Dealing with the biggest of biggest. I mean, who get bigger than that, than the royal family in terms of, you know, what they stand for 1,000 years old? I mean, come on, guys. If nothing, we need to take hope from that. Because look how much are they flourishing now. Look who's coming onto the table. NATO. All these other people now are dying to work with them. Even though their lives still remain in danger. So let's not lose sight of that, guys. The sun will rise again. We are going to the river and pray. We do have a blueprint for today. And that's what I would say.
Well said.
And I think we are going to move on to
The verse?
the verse.
Sure.
And you send us out with a prayer, George.
Sure. So I think one that we all need, this Bible verse, is about hope. And it comes from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint.
Amen. George.
There is so much to pray for. There is so much to ask for. There's so much to also not forget to be grateful for. But before anything, we pray for all of those who are facing health issues, adversities. As always, we pray for the one and only Church Nelly. We also pray for Mrs. Clutch Sussex's son, who's in the hospital now for the fourth time, and for everyone who is overcoming those health challenges. Those are some of the most difficult things and some of the most important to us at the end of the day. More than anything else, it comes back to our ability to be healthy with our families. And so we pray for strength and healing and recovery for everyone who is facing those afflictions. And in terms of where we find ourselves today, we pray for all to have that hope, to have courage, to know that in community there is strength, there is comfort, there is joy. As Loretha said, joy comes in the morning. And we pray that everyone, as they move forward and move into 2025, they continue to do that good work. And the little things, as you walk down the street, and in the big things, in supporting those like Prince Harry, Princess Meghan, and working on the world stage to really fundamentally make the world a better place. And to recognize that it is not going to be without its trials and tribulations and its difficulties and its challenges, all of those things. It is going to probably get, as always, harder before it gets easier. But that is not reason to not do it. In fact, that is more reason to do it. So we pray for the strength to continue down that road.
Amen. And I will extend my prayer to everyone around the world that is dealing with a lot. Specifically, Spain right now is dealing with so much, and all around the world, the uncertainty. And I really pray, God, for this community, and I thank you because you guys have no idea what you have given me. To Baron, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just remember, guys, love wins. Even if we don't see it, love wins always. let's not continue in moving forward in a place of hate. Let's not allow ourselves a disappointment turn into hate. Let's not allow things that has done in the name of God turn us into hate. Let not let our country turn into a place where hate dominated. I believe in America. I will continue to believe in America. I love America because unlike any other places around the world, it had afforded us, many of us, our parents, our great-grandparents, opportunities perhaps we probably would not have anyplace else. America is the dream, the place where many people want to come. Spite of all the hardship. But this is really one place in the world where any one of us can go to sleep and wake up being a millionaire by just playing the lottery. This is the place where you can dream and that dream can come true and become something big. This is a place where, in spite of what's going on, we have a voice and we can voice it. And this is a place that allowed us, through community, we can make so much difference in the world, not just for ourselves. So there will be opportunities, guys. Make sure we understand the blueprint that's giving to us and not take it for granted and march on. March on we will, because God did not leave us by ourselves. Even though it may feel like that, we are all here to move forward in a mission that is very crucial. And that mission is the work Harry and Meghan are doing. Putting a light on people that probably would not have that. And our men and women that was out protect our freedom. So let's not forget that. So may God bless you. But before I leave, I will give you guys, do we have that? A sneak peek why it is important. Do you have that? Because you're looking at me.
It was just such a great ending. It was such a positive.
But no, it's okay. It's okay. But I need to show this for us to understand our power. It's something we always have and it's always going to continue having, and we cannot let it take away from us, regardless. So let's play our last clip. I said.
Yeah, this is specifically to tee up what
To
some
tee
of the future conversations you have planned for us, ladies.
Correct.
That's right.
Could you tell them what it is, please?
Well, this is going back to, actually, one of the amazing creators who we've been referencing over the past weeks. Without History is the handle. And he has another video that he's done, which has done a great job of tackling a really important challenge about how things are, again, represented, going back to that word. And so this is something you selected, I know, to tee up what some of that upcoming conversation is going to be.
That's right, because I'm doing a lot of research. So let's play it, and then we'll come back and say our goodbye. Come on.
No one in Black Africa invented writing.
This video from Jared Taylor has gone viral on Twitter and on TikTok.
No one in Black Africa invented writing.
This video from Jared Taylor has gone viral on Twitter and on TikTok.
Black Africans never built anything remotely like this.
But how true are these claims?
Go to any art museum and look at the African section. It's right across the hall from pieces like this.
It makes assertions that are pretty inflammatory, assertions that we will review point by point. In his tirade, Jared Taylor tries to imply that Africans did not have any signs of civilization prior to the arrival of Europeans and Arabs. And by extension, he tries to argue that Africans were less intelligent. You will find many self-proclaimed messiahs boasting assertions about black people. While I debated, including his statements in this video, it is important to address them head-on so that next time they prop up, we have the tools to address them.
Exactly. And I think that, the word is what he says, is that we have the tool. So I will tell you, my brothers, my sister, my community at heart, that we have given the tool to move on, to face right on 2025 with the hope we can make our world, our country, a better place. Until we see each other again, may God bless you all. Good day. Love win. I love you so very much. Thank you, Baron. Thank you. You have no idea. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. May God bless you. Good day. Bye.